Hello and welcome back to another episode of Math with Sohn. Today, we're going to be solving some basic single-step and multi-step equations. Let's get into it. So for our first equation, I'm going to take something like 3x plus 2, and I'm just going to have it equal 14. So our objective here is to get x by itself, and the method for doing that is to take the x side and move everything away from that, starting with the things that are not directly attached to the x. So I am going to take this 2, and I'm going to have to do the opposite action to move from one side of the equal sign to the other side, the left side to the right side. So I subtracted 2. That would cancel and give me 3x, drops down, equals 12. From here, because it's 3x is equal to 12, I can divide by 3, and I would end up with my final answer as x is equal to 4. So that one's a nice little warm-up. The next few problems are going to introduce something a little bit different each and every time. So this next problem is going to involve a distribution. We have this 7 in front of the parentheses. We are going to have to distribute the 7 to both of these terms, the 9 and the y. Doesn't matter that it's a y, not an x. So we have to do 7 times 9 to get 63, and 7 times a regular y is going to end up being 7y. If it was a 2 there, it'd be 7 times 2 and make 14y. Equals 84. So again, the same thing's going to happen. We want to get this 63 away from this 7y, so I'm going to have to do the opposite action. It's a positive 63, so I have to do subtraction to cancel that out. I have to do the opposite action, and we have 84 minus 63, which ends up being 21. And then we divide by 7. The number attached to y is what we end up dividing by. And when we divide 21 by 7, we get our final answer as 3. Over here, you'll notice that there are x's on both sides of the equation. So in this problem, because there's x's on both sides of the equation, we are going to have to subtract one of these or add them if they were negative. And I like to keep my x's on the left side normally, so I'm going to end up subtracting this 7x first. And I take that as my first move for solving this equation because I like to get all my x's or variables together in the first step if I can. So we have 8 minus 7, which is 1x. You don't have to write the 1 there. I did. So we have 1x minus 2 equals negative 9. And now we are going to have to get whatever is with the x's, like this negative 2, away from it. So I'm going to have to move this 2 over. Because it's a minus or a negative 2, I will have to do the opposite action, which means I'm going to be adding it. We end up with 1x equals negative 7. And if you really want to, you can divide by 1. But if you divide anything by 1, you get the same thing. So if a 1x equals negative 7, a regular x would equal a negative 7. So in this problem, you'll notice that we have something a little bit different. We have a 5p and a 3p on the same side of the equal sign. And that is something that we're going to have to deal with. And it's actually one of the easiest things to deal with because they're on the same side. You can do the same operation that they are, which is add, in this case, 5p plus a 3p. When we add them together, makes 8p. And that is something I would recommend doing first if you have it, just like you'd have to do distribution first as well. So I added these, 5 and 3 make 8, and I dropped everything else down. I didn't touch them. From here, I am going to choose to either move this p or move this 8p to the left or to the right. Again, I like moving my p's to the left or my variables to the left, so I'm going to subtract my 8p doing the opposite action. So I have p, a single 1p minus 8p, that would equal negative 7. P minus 1, that one canceled, equals negative 8. So from here, I'm going to probably add this 1 over so that I can eventually divide by the negative 7. So I'm going to add 1, negative 7p equals negative 8 plus 1. So you have negative 8 personality traits, and you get a positive 1. You're going to be looking a little bit better. You're only going to have negative 7 personality traits. So once we have the negative 7p equals negative 7, we can divide negative 7 by negative 7. Whenever you divide something by the exact same thing, you end up with 1, because negative 7 can go into itself, negative 7, 1 time evenly. For this next problem, we're going to have a distribution, but it's going to be a little bit different, because if you have just a negative in front of a parentheses, you're going to be distributing, but you're only going to be distributing a negative. So we're going to distribute that negative, and that would make negative x and minus 3. All we have to do when we distribute a negative is change the signs of everything. So this positive x became negative, and that positive 3 became negative. Now, if it was a negative to begin with, it would change to positive. They just changed the sign. Going to rewrite the 2x and the minus 7 and the 10. From here, we're going to combine like terms if there are any, and there are. There is definitely some like terms here. To start with, we have negative, technically negative 1x, and a positive 2. So if you combine this 1x and 2x, the negative 1 and positive 2, that's the same thing as saying 2 minus 1 combined together makes 1, because you'd have 2 minus 1 makes 1. Then I'm going to deal with this negative 3 and negative 7. So negative 3 combined with negative 7 will make 10 negatives. And that is going to equal this 10 right here that we didn't touch at all on the right side. So from here, it's a normal equation. I am going to add 10. 1x will equal 20. And if 1x is equal to 20, if we divide by 1, a regular x would equal 20, because 20 divided by 1 is 20. So we got one last problem for you here, and it's going to be a doozy. We're going to have to distribute and distribute again. We have 2 distributions, and we have several combining like terms that's going to happen as well. So I'm going to start by distributing that negative 5. And I end up with negative 5 times a negative 5x. That's going to be a positive 25x, because negative times negative makes positive. And we have this next distribution that I have to do, where I have positive 5 times negative 8. Well, positive 5 times negative 8 is negative 40x. And positive 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Equals negative 4x minus 8. Minus 8x. I could have combined those, I just didn't yet. From here, I'm going to combine the 25 and the 40, but it's negative 40, so I have more negative numbers than positive numbers, and I have, in fact, 15 more of them. If we took 25 and minus 40, we end up with negative 15. We also have a negative 5 and a negative 10. If we combine those, we're going to end up with negative 15 equals negative 4x minus 8x. I should have combined those. I just didn't. I forgot. So I'm going to do it now. We got negative 4 and negative 8 makes negative 12x. I'm going to drop down the negative 15x minus 15. And it's starting to look a little more normal. Now, I normally like to keep the x's on the left side of the equation, but right now it doesn't make as much sense to do that, because if I move the 12x over, I end up with nothing on the right side of the equation, and I don't want to do that. So in this case, I am going to actually be adding this 15x. It was negative. I have to add it to move it over. We got negative 15 equals 3x. I divide by 3, and I will get negative 5 is equal to x. So negative 5 is equal to x. I have my final answer, and this is our last problem. So until next time, I will see everybody later. Have a great day. Bye.